Hello and welcome, I'm Raziel, and so today what I want to talk about is the common opinion that Warhammer and Games Workshop make the best plastic miniatures. I disagree with that, I totally do. Now, this is not me being pedantic, this is me just talking about the models as they are and trying to show you a comparison between them, rather than just saying Games Workshop's not the best, blah blah blah, this is why. I'd rather you see differences and make up your own mind and not just take my opinion on this. Also, I need to clarify, this is saying they are not the best. This is not saying they're bad, they're not saying they're horrible, they're not saying they're rubbish. I'm saying they are not the best, okay? It's that simple. So don't go saying, oh, you don't like Games Workshop models. No, this is not saying they are bad models. This is saying they are not the best models, okay? It's very clear. First, I want to talk quickly about the plastic itself. And I have found, in my opinion, so this is completely my opinion and what observations I've made, that the plastic that Games Workshop uses is slightly harder than everyone else. Now, it's a good plastic, it's a high quality plastic, don't get me wrong, but I find that building and painting it adds a level of problems that the other models do not have. And I have built all of them, painted all the models you're going to see today. All of them, including the GW stuff. And I think it's because of the harder plastic, the glue sets a little bit harder, so I tend to having to file where I need to glue. So it increases the surface area and makes it more easier to glue. And the paint separation is, again, I think with a slightly harder plastic, it makes the paint separate a bit more. It's a bit more aquaphobic, so the paint is more likely to separate. And that's it. So let's start. I'm going to try to do like for like as best I can, okay? Obviously going with Warhammer versus Wild West Exodus and Warcrader, who I do think make the best miniatures, by the way. I think this would be the best way to do it. So the first one is Saint Celestine, for Sisters of Battle. And she's a nice looking model, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of bland, it's kind of plain. This is meant to be a living saint, it's meant to have lots of extras and ornamentation and make her look glorious, but she just kind of looks bland and boring. And that's just one of the biggest problems Games Workshop has with their model making. They tend to be really, really boring models. And I know people go, oh, but they're really cool. What's your opinion? I just think they tend to be a bit bland, and Sister Celestine kind of shows this. I mean, there's nothing really to her other than she's a woman with power armor wings, which was always the biggest problem with this new one, in my opinion. When she had her own wings, she looked a lot better. But now, just having these rings like this kind of makes her look, again, just a bit more boring and standard sister. Just makes her look like a special Sisters of Battle. And even then, not that special, because things like the Canoness has a nice scenic base to it. She kind of just looks boring and just like any other Sisters of Battle. And don't get me started on these things here. They were an absolute pain in the ass to paint, because it makes her wobble. But like I said, she's a very bland model. And this is meant to be the top female one, okay, the top Sister of Battle in plastic. Now, if we go to Wild West Exodus, Warcrader, we have the legendary Ranni Namu. Now, straight away, you can just see how much more detail is on her without making her look too ostentatious, without making her look too pompous. She still has very plain, but it's far better detailed. It's far better made. The base itself looks like part of a model. And it looks like it's actually interacting with her, not just something that looks pretty. The big tentacle there, the metal tentacle. Again, it all adds something to this. And this is a plastic model. And if we look at the other pose, which looks a little bit better, you can see where the waves are. And it looks like she's actually caused the waves. So this looks like a really nice model. And it looks exactly what it's meant to. It's meant to be a nice centerpiece model for your crowned posse or outlaws posse, whichever way, and it looks like she's going to stand out among them. Whereas, again, if we go to Saint Celestine, she's not really going to stand out that much compared to all the other Sisters of Battle. So straight away you can see how much better Rani Namu is. And it's just fantastic. This is a lovely model. I've painted and built her, and she looks great. And she just shows exactly what you can do with plastic. The next one is Commander Dante, because let's look at some power armor. And once again, we see exactly the same thing. He's a very bland model. He's just basically a Space Marine with a head swap, and nothing else more. See, he's got his Infernus pistol, he's got his power axe, but they don't look anything different from what other Blood Angels will carry or use. Again, making him a very bland model. I'm not going to go into any older models. I'm trying to do as new as possible for these comparisons, because it's only fair. But once again, we see he's well detailed, don't get me wrong, he's a nice looking model. But when we compare him to the plastic version, powered armored version in, well, Res Exodus, we have Nikola Tesla. And just the movement, the lightning, everything about this model just improves upon Dante. His armor looks better. The way he's standing looks better. The way the electricity accentuates him and makes him look stronger and more powerful. And he looks like no other member of the Union. I think he's like the only one in power armor. And he looks like a lot better armor model than Dante. Like I said, this is just my opinion, but in my opinion, it's black and white here. You know, night and day. Nikola Tesla looks better than Dante. He looks like a model that would stand out as a centerpiece again in your army compared to Dante, who looks like a golden blood angel. He has nothing special about him that differentiates him, he says with his stutter coming back, from any other golden blood angel. Nothing. Where Nikola Tesla once again looks completely different. The detail looks better, the moulding looks better, building him is fun, and you're going to have something that looks cool rather than just someone that looks all the same. Now you can argue that Space Marines look all the same, but when it comes to commanders, they're meant to look different and special. Now let's look at some robots. We have Necrons here. Yeah, I don't like the Necrons. This is not an army I particularly ever have liked. I have painted Necrons, I have built Necrons, but I find them too easy to build and paint, and that's it. They're so simple, but they all look identical. And you know, you can say, well, that's the point. Yeah, and I can see that, and who am I going to compare them to has exactly the same problem. But that's the thing. They all have the same poses no matter what. It's like if you buy multiple boxes, you can have multiple boxes of the exact same poses. Nothing differentiates between the two different units. And this is something we see very common in Games Workshop. These poses which are repeated time and time again. You can even see them cross factions where the same pose has been copied across factions. Like the Guard box is very similar in poses to the Guardian box and the Space Marine box. And again, we're going to see the same thing here. Yeah, they look good, they're nice looking models, but they just haven't got that snap, that bite to them, which makes them really, really cool looking. And again, we can compare them to some more robots, which is the UR31 Teslabots. Now, again, yes, they look all the same, but as you notice, that these are all different. You can put these in all different poses. They don't all have to be the exact same pose, even though they did that one twice. And they have different weapons as well. So you're not going to be just stuck with the one type of weapon. You've got choices of weapons, which again adds more posing options and makes them look different. And even the armor and the metal, whatever you want to call it, the exoskeleton, whatever you want to call it, it's different and looks better with far more detail, far better quality, and far sharper modelling than anything that the Necrons come out with. And these are just two basic, very basic robots in generality. And they're both meant to be very identical to the next one, but there's enough posability within the UR31 Teslabots compared to what's in the Necron box. Now we're just going to finish up with some bikes. The Outriders. Yeah, again, very bland, very boring, very samey. You're not going to get much difference between one squad to the next squad. and you're going to get pretty much the same thing. And it's just a very boring plain box which you can use for Games Workshop for Warhammer 40k and nothing else. And again, this comes across as a bit of a problem when you build lots of models. You want models to look different and seem different from their other units without having to paint some sort of stripe on them. You make them look a little bit different. And again, there's very little detail on them. We've got the tracks, you've got the Quilla, but outside of that, there's not really much detail to make them pop. Even the guns are mostly hidden, so you don't even get like the magazines. Well, you get them there, but you see what I mean. You don't really get a lot of the gun detail. I'm going to finally finish it up with the Wild West Iron Horse. Well, actually, this is an Iron Eagle, but this is a perfect example of what I mean. Notice how on the Iron Horse here, Iron Eagle, Iron Horse, that the guns are completely open. You've got all the details of the guns. You have better details on the engines because they're not hidden. And you've got the cow pusher over there. I don't know what they call that. And it's got the glowing engines here. It's also flying, so it's actually a jet bike. And when you look at the Iron Eagle, where the engine is covered up, it's 1, 2, 3 pieces. But if we look at the Outriders here, it's just one piece. And as you can see, it already covers 2 factions. It shows you off 2 factions you can use it for, but there's 2 more factions you can use it for. You can use it for Enlightened, Union, Lawmen, and Outlaws. And it covers, so that's 4 different factions compared to just 1 faction and every sub-faction that it's part of instead. This is what I mean. These models, these Iron Horses look far better than the Outriders. Rani Lemute looks far better than Saint Celestine. Nikola Tesla looks better than Dante. And the 31 UR31 pairs do look better than Necrons. And these are all plastic miniatures. These are all plastic. I didn't show off any resin here because that would have been absolutely unfair. And if I wanted to go into resin, I could cover everyone else. Because saying Games Workshop make the best miniatures without looking at other miniatures or using other miniatures is kind of disingenuous. It's just saying GW are the best. And when you go, well, what are you comparing them to? It's like, well, they're better than... So you're saying they're better because they're better than one company? What about all the other companies? So saying they're the best is, again, disingenuous. And the fact that not only this is one I wanted to finish on for this reason. Seeing as there's no real difference between the next bike and between one bike and the next, if we go back to this one, these are 2 very different looking bikes. These are not the same bike. They look different. It's the same kit, the exact same kit, but it's not the same bike. And when, obviously, all the 3 bikes are going to look the same, but when you're doing lawmen, outlaws, or cowboys, all the riders are going to be different. I think you can do up to several different riders for each one. So it's very hard for you to actually do the same rider twice. And we're not just talking heads here or arms. We're talking bodies as well, different body types. It's only the Teslabots that tend to be the same because, Teslabots. There you go, there's the Iron Eagle a little bit better. And there's the Enlightened Iron Horse a little bit better. There's the box art. And that's the thing. Like I said, GW don't make the best. And I've shown 4 examples on why I think this. And why my opinion is that Warcradle will make better plastic models than Games Workshop do by far. And I try to make my case on this. You can disagree with me. I'm open to that as always. But I'm trying to say that when you say something's the best, or someone else says something the best, try and look at it a bit more critically. Like, go look at other companies, go look at other games, and make your own mind up outside of just saying, they said they're the best because they say they're the best. It's a self-certifying source. These Warcradle to me make the best plastic models by far. And when it comes to a resin, they just knock out the park every time. I've yet to see a bad resin model. Even their simple cerulean infiltrators, which are single mold models, look far better than anything Games Workshop produce, and they're kind of funny too. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this extendedly long video. I'll hopefully see you in the next one. And have a great day. Have a lovely day. And I'll see you all soon. If you want to save money on your wargaming, go down to check Wayland Games down below. And you get up to free delivery after £20, up to 20% off. And it also, I should really point out, they have this point system where I think it's £1 per point. So basically it is basically 1% off. So you can save your points up and then actually buy something with your points or save money on your delivery or whatnot. I mean, it's a great thing to do, in my opinion. And there you go. And there's also Forbidden Planet for comics, DVDs, mangas, etc. There's what was I going to say? Oh, my merchandise as well. T-shirts, stickers, bags, laptop stickers, I think. Well, you stick your stickers anywhere. My comics. If you want to see Little Red Riding Hood, go ham on some Lovecraftian cyborg werewolves. There's Skyforge. Never forget Skyforge, good friend of mine. And let's get him up that Google algorithm. And finally, Patreon, because business. Bye-bye.